Good morning, everyone. Happy 4th of July. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on with Bitcoin today. Taking a look at our daily chart here, you can see that this candle kind of dug into this box right here that I have drawn, this order block. So there's a possibility that, we basically came here, we're going to get some sort of bounce up. We tested that 62,865 line last night, didn't really get the strength to push through it. I'm really honestly not expecting too much this weekend, since we had such expensive moves beforehand. So we had an expensive move, obviously on Thursday. We had one on Friday. You could even call Wednesday an expensive move as well, and Tuesday. So I mean, there was a lot of opportunity in the market this week. We had a lot more expansive candles rather than compression candles like what we've been seeing. So there's a possibility that we don't hardly do anything this weekend. That's at least what I'm expecting. I don't expect there to be a lot of movement for right now. So when it comes to price, I do expect for us to stay within this range, 62,235 to 62,865, even potentially dropping down to 62,109. But I think we're going to stay within that 62K range. Okay. Um, Taking a look at our 8 hour. So let's see, the 8 hour, we are now trading above the daily, which is a great sign. We kind of had an indecision doji here, our previous 8 hour, but it looks like it's going to expand to the upside. Um, 4 hours. So what you're going to look to see for this weekend, guys, is you want to see the 4 hour 21 start coming into price action. So what I'm looking to see is this creeping up, getting above 62,109 and slowly creeping, to meet that 200 MA. Once we get that meeting, and if we can get that crossover, it's going to be explosive. I mean, we're going to fly up here probably to, my first guess would probably be to 65,705, and then potentially, we could revisit 60, this block up here starting at 67.5. But it's going to be a big move up if we can get that golden cross. Okay, that's what I'm going to be waiting for. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Come Sunday, if we don't have that golden cross yet, we could possibly get a slight dip, and if we don't, it's one of two things. It's either going to be extremely aggressively bullish, where we're just going to fly for the week and we're not going to have hardly any tail, or we're going to have a blow off top where we start the week where we fly up, hit some of these key levels, get strongly rejected, and then, really fall back down harshly, even possibly into the 50s again. So one of those two situations is what I'm preparing for. Obviously, we're not going to know until it gets there. But you can see right now, guys. I mean, in theory, and again, this is never financial advice for me, but you can see how this is kind of your flag here, this is like a bullish flag, right? And, in theory, you could technically, even at the very minimum, take that right there, and you could say that we're going to go up to 63, around 63.3, 63.5-ish. So, you could um, have a very tight stop here, if you wanted to play this. I don't recommend playing weekends or trading weekends. I'm not really a fan of it, but you'd have to have a really tight stop. Basically, you'd have to play the 1 hour, have a very tight stop, and you'd get like a 3 to 1 if you were to cover part of this box down here. So, in theory, you could kind of get a 2.87, I would say. I would probably want to get protected a little bit below the top of this box. So, 62,340, riding it up to 63.5, and it's a 2.87. Not the best risk reward, but if you really wanted a trade to cook over the weekend, that's something that you could have going. And it could, like I said, potentially go higher if you get that 4 hour 21 MA cross, that golden cross on the 4 hour. So that's what I'm seeing right now, at least for, without looking at our liquidity. But we're going to get into that right now. So keep that line in mind, 63.5. Okay, we'll take a look and see where that lines up with liquidity here. So let me go into here and take a look at some of our bigger time frames. So let's take a look first at our 4 hour. So our 4 hour is really showing, I mean, look at that. Everybody's trying to short the market right now. Everybody's trying to catch that top, thinking that we're going to go lower. Um, you can really see, guys, that I mean, we could get up to back up to 67, 68,000 here. I would be targeting up here, honestly, if we get that 4 hour cross. First off would be this pull at 66.5-ish area, and then secondly would be up here. So that's where I am personally targeting. We're getting a lot more liquidity, a lot more shorts up here, which is great. So just know that there's a chance that we do get a blow off top since we don't have a lot, of concentrated liquidity to get us up to 76 area, 75, 76. So we could come back, retest the 69, 620 area, and then just fall from there, down to this 56 area. That is a potential, right? So just kind of keep that in mind for right now. Let me drop into the 1 hour real quick and see where that looks like here. All right, so your trend diff indicator is showing zeros on everything, so it's basically neutral on all the time frames it's telling me. Which makes sense. I mean, it's going to be a low volume weekend because everybody's going to be out, in a party or, doing fireworks, whatever it may be. So there's not going to be a lot of people in the charts. I'm going to tell you that right now. So whatever movement you get, it could be potential manipulation from bots or from just whales, right, that are able to take advantage of the market. So honestly, on the 1 hour, guys, it does look like we're going to take out this green pool above us prior to coming down and taking out some of this liquidity. I would expect for, this to be taken out first to 6335. We just talked about that number, so that's taking out most of this yellow liquidity right here before we start driving down into the 60,000 range. So I do think that that's more of a probable move rather than, going down first. Another thing, I mean, look at this. We could keep consolidating and then moving our way up into 67 like we talked about, right? So there's enough liquidity to really drive us up now. So just be very, very careful shorting this market. I have company coming over, so I'm staying out for this weekend. I might look for a setup tomorrow, but not today. I'm not trying to trade this today. This is, I'm expecting a slow sideways move up into this pool of liquidity and just kind of consolidating, see what happens there. We could get a potential rejection in this area before we drop down lower, like I mentioned. Um, but, I definitely think that we're going to see, 67, 68,000 sooner rather than later. I will tell you that. So, especially if we get that golden cross on the 4 hour. Um, our order book, our free order book from Kiyotaka is showing pretty much the same thing as well. 63.5 is our area. You're starting to get a little bit up to 63.8, so almost 64,000. Nothing really until up here at 68,000, so we could get a dip into, or basically a punch through this liquidity right here, and then we could fall down into the 63.4-ish area is what it's showing for right now at least. So there's always a potential that new orders come in though. Just keep that in mind. There's always new orders that I see coming above us and below us. So this is very very dynamic. It doesn't stay, the same at any given time, even from minute to minute. So something you should watch on a daily basis, in my opinion, especially since it's a free tool here. Um, but anyways, back to trading different. If we go into the 5 minute finally, something to expect for today. I mean, this is just prime target right here is your 63 area, 63.5 area before we, have a chance to either consolidate, roll over. But I just don't see how, there's a very good chance that we take this out before we start diving into here. Yes, there's always a potential that we can dive into this first, down here, but it's just probability wise, there's a better chance that we take this out and then we, slowly dip down here. So anyways, guys, that is what I'm seeing on Trading Different. I will give you guys a simple map update now real quick. So let's take a look and see on the simple map where we're at. So actually right now you can see how many 100x shorts there are. That people basically went short yesterday and they're just gone for the weekend. So they're thinking the market's going to drop down for the weekend. But I'm thinking the opposite. I think we're going to climb up, then maybe drop down, but we could keep climbing up for a ways. So we'll see. I would first expect, based off of this information, I would first expect probably 63 180. It looks like would be our, no, 63 210. So this is kind of this little tiny bar right here before we get a spike up in volume here. So I would expect us to test like 63 180, 63 210. prior to going up into, the further into the 63,000 range. Now, if we get up to here to 63,330, we could get a follow through to 63,570, it's telling us. So it's really going to depend on how far price wants to move up. On a bearish case scenario, we do have a good amount of 100x and 50x below us as well. So I would say, probably look for, anywhere between 61 and 62,000. I don't believe we'll probably lose that 61,710 area. That to me is kind of a safety point right there, climbing up this way. More than likely, if we were to drop down, we would probably revisit around 62,000 even, is what it looks like. So that's what I'm seeing as far as our scalping timeframes, like your 5, your 15, your 1 hour, right? And then going into the swing timeframes, if you take a look here, you can see we're now diving into these bars up here, these little nodes right here. So we're getting into the 10x and 25x for the shorts, right? So this tells me that we could at least hopefully visit this next bar above us sooner rather than later, and then see what we want to do from there. That's around 63.3. So I would say target 63.3 for right now to be on the safe side if you're going to be trading using longs. But we do have a tiny bit of liquidity to the downside, nothing really to bridge us back into this major area in 57, 400 and whatnot. So we do, if we are going to be bearish, we need the bulls to really put in a lot more orders, and they're not. So that's a good sign for the bulls because, obviously we're going to keep moving up here until there's more orders that accumulate down here to give us that bridge to 57,000 range. So anyways, guys, this is what I'm seeing in the market today. I will be, since I'm gonna have a party today, I will be keeping you guys informed if there are any major movements. But like I said, I expect a lot of just chop today. I don't expect a lot of movement. We could get a good, potential, I guess you could say $700 move up to 63.3 area to test that out. But nothing extreme, I would say, unless we really get, some sort of tweet from Trump or social post from Trump. I don't see us really taking off or going anywhere. It's going to be a lot of sideways chop this weekend, especially because, like I said, we had such an expansive week. So, anyways, guys, that is what my read for the market is. Overall, micro and meso timeframes still bullish. Macro time frame still bearish until we start reclaiming, the levels that we talked about. Especially consolidating 63.3 is going to be extremely important to keep our move up. I would say, honestly, as long as we can hold, like I talked about, the weekly 200 MA, if we can close above that, I will potentially flip bullish on the macro because this is an extremely important line in the sand at 633 right now. So we're very close to it, and there's a very good chance that we could close above it this weekend. But I'm going to be watching that closely. So anyways, guys, that is what I have for you for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. You have a safe 4th of July. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care.